Anyway, this recipe starts with about a pound and a half of whatever steak is on sale, whatever steak is nice and lean. Maybe you have some leftover odds and ends of steaks. During the holidays, maybe you did a beef tenderloin and cut off the ends and froze the ends. Well, it would be perfect in this recipe. I love using flank steak. This is a cut of steak that I grew up with. Very inexpensive, although it's become a little more pricey now that it's popular, but you can see there's no waste to it, which is great. So we just need to get whatever steak is cheap and on sale. And even if it's a tougher cut of meat, we're going to slice it so thin that it'll actually work in this recipe. So with flank steak, I want to cut it against the grain. That's going to keep it nice and tender, so I cut it on an angle. And if you freeze the steak for like 20 minutes to a half hour, you're going to be able to slice it very, very thin. So you're going to see how easy this is to slice into thin strips. So we don't need a ton of it. Just freezing it for that little bit. You don't have to, but you can see sometimes cutting steak really, really thin when it's sliding around the cutting board. This just makes it so easy. So we want it as thin as we can get. And just sharpened this knife on me. And that's going to cook it very, very quickly and also keep a steak that's not so tender. It's going to make it nice and tender because your steak is so paper thin. So let me tell you, my kiddos were tired yesterday, or at least Ireland was. Riley hasn't gone back to school yet. Those college students get quite a nice break. I'm kind of jealous. But anyway, he is working, though, so he's not just sitting around doing nothing. And I give him lots of chores. That is the benefit of having this college student home, is that he's doing the laundry and things like that, shoveling the drive. So anyway, Ireland's first day back was yesterday. And she came home a tired puppy and hungry. Yours too? Yeah, that first day back is never easy. So I'm going to heat up, which is key, is you want a really hot skillet. And then you don't need to buy a stir-fry sauce. Those are pricey. Those bottles of stir-fry sauces are, they can be $3, $4, $5 or more. You can make your own stir-fry sauce with just ingredients you probably already have around the house right now. This is a half of a cup of soy sauce, and you could certainly use low sodium soy sauce, a couple tablespoons of brown sugar, which is going to sweeten this up just a little bit, but don't worry, it's not going to be a real sweet sauce. And this is just some sherry, which is going to give it some great flavor. This is a quarter of a cup of sherry. Now we're going to use half of this for a marinade, and then we're going to use some of it, and I had this great big old pan, and I don't know what I was thinking. I certainly don't need that big pan for this steak. I'm just going to use the other half as the actual stir-fry sauce. So I'm going to take half of this beef, so about a pound and a half of the beef, and put half of this soy sauce sherry, fresh ginger, which is the other ingredient I forgot to add in here, which makes all the difference in the world. A big piece of this ginger is really, really cheap. And the great thing is it's a lot of ginger. So you can get a lot of different recipes out of this. You can wrap it up and keep it in your fridge. It'll keep for a couple weeks, or you can wrap it up and put it in your freezer and it'll keep even longer than that. But I peel it. It's great if, I did an interview years ago with Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. Her Royal Highness was in town doing a talk at St. Norbert, and she came on and did some cooking with me, and she swore by fresh ginger. She just puts it in water and drinks it as a tea. But there's so many things you can do with it. It's great in so many different recipes, stir fries especially. So I just use a microplane, or you can just chop it up very fine and put it in your marinade. And it just, wow, there's nothing like the smell of fresh ginger, and a little dab will do you. That little piece right there probably costs pennies. And then we've got a whole big chunk to use in other recipes down the road. Okay, so here is our marinade. Half of the marinade in with the beef. The other half we're going to use for our stir-fry sauce. Now, if you have the time and you've thought about it, this is great to quickly marinate this in the morning, park it in the fridge, and let that steak hang out in there all day. If you didn't think about it, you had one of those crazy busy mornings, which the first few days back from a holiday break, yep, those mornings are crazy. Getting the kids up and going is not so easy. It can be a quick marinade. Because we slice that steak so nice and thin, we can let it marinate for 15 minutes while we're checking our emails or helping kids with their homework. So the key thing with this recipe is, with all stir fries, it's really important to do them in a smoking hot pan. If you ever watched at Chinese restaurants, they've got all these big woks going and a big fire underneath them. You want the biggest pan that you have. I like to use a stainless skillet rather than a non-stick, because you can really get some color on that meat or chicken or whatever you're doing. And then you want to preheat that pan. So important to do. So I want to get that nice and hot. So this recipe also has some fresh garlic in it. And just a couple ingredients. The only real, the steak and then the snow peas are really our only big splurge there. Let me wash that knife, and I'm going to. Did want to mention that we're real excited about our next big night out, which is coming up in February, right before Valentine's Day. We're headed to a wonderful restaurant in Appleton, the Appleton Beer Factory, and they're putting together a really nice menu. So we're working on the menu right now, but just keep watching the show for details. And if you need a night out, and by February, I think we're all going to need a fun night out, please join us. So start talking about it now, and we hope to have all the details, the menu, the pricing, and all that very, very soon to announce on the show. Okay. Just want to make sure that pan is really smoking hot, and I can tell it is. One of the ways I test for that is I take one piece of beef, put it in the pan. If you hear that, you're good to go. If you don't hear that, pull it out of the pan and keep heating that pan until you get it to that nice temperature. Notice how I'm spreading the beef out. That way it's going to cook very, very quickly. And I'm also going to be able to get some nice color on it. Steak can get pricey, and I love steak. I really do. But this is a great way to serve it, get your protein, get your steak fix without everybody needing a whole steak, is do it in stir fry or fajita. So it's a great way to save some dough. This is going to cook super quick. And that's the other thing I like about stir fries is they're cheap, they're healthy, and if you need to get dinner on the table in a real hurry, the only thing that takes the time is chopping up the meat in this case, and the garlic and the ginger. Otherwise, it's a super quick cook, and it's done before you call the pizza man to get pizza delivered. You can have it done way before that. So it's already nice and brown on both sides. At this point, I'm going to add my garlic, fresh garlic. A little more oil, and I'm using vegetable oil or canola oil. And you don't even, you can certainly cut back on the amount of oil. Now, because this pan is so smoking hot, I want to really move that garlic around. In goes our sugar snap or snow peas, whatever looks best at the grocery store, and that color of the nice bright green color. It's one of the reasons I love this dish so much. And now remember that reserved marinade. To this now we're going to add a couple tablespoons of cornstarch. And this is going to form a really nice sauce, just a quick pan sauce. So in that goes with the snow peas and the beef. I'm going to keep my, in seconds, you see how in seconds it's already nice and hot on me. Here we go. And those snow peas are still nice and green. I want to have some nice crunch to them. We're going to do a little sesame seeds, which is optional. You don't have to, but I love that special addition. And then a little bit of chopped green onion, which again is optional, but it kind of freshens the dish. Now to stretch the dish, I love to serve this over hot cooked rice, brown rice if you're keeping it healthy, and it's a great sub switch to make. My kids do love white rice though. Or you can do it over like a lo mein, which would be really nice. Which are just, you can find some really fun Asian noodles, or even spaghetti noodles. And then this goes over. Get some of that sauce. Smells really good, nice and fresh. Nobody's going to leave the table hungry. And there you go. Beef and snow peas, a nice healthy dish for the new year. And we'll put the recipe on our website, little extra sesame seeds. Coming up, what to do with the leftover hamburger buns, some great cookies for the kids' lunch bags, and a cheesy zucchini dish that costs next to nothing to make. So stay with us. We'll be back.